Okay, so today we're taking a look at the Oshi Glows vegan banana bread. I've made this recipe a bunch of times. It's really good. All that fun stuff. Looking down at our ingredients, gonna skip past all the pictures. Okay, first we start with 1/3 of a cup of ripe bananas. So you're gonna want to preheat your oven to 350. My oven runs 25 degrees too low, so I preheat to 375. Okay, so the recipe calls for 1 1/3 of a cup of bananas. I literally never measure. I just use 3 bananas because it works every single time. I also do not pre-mash them. I just peel them, put them right in, peel them, put them right in the mixing bowl, and then when I turn it on, the paddle attachment will mix it for me. Now that I've put our little banana escapee into the mixing bowl, I'm going to put this, lock it, and turn it on, and this is going to mash the bananas for me. We're just going to let that go until it's all nice and mashed. If we bring this up, you'll see there's not really any large chunks left. I like mine super smooth, so I'm going to keep it going. But we can start adding the rest of the ingredients. The first thing we're going to add is 2 tablespoons of ground flax. I use the Joe's Tasty Travels brand because it's like $6 and it's a huge bag. So we need 2 tablespoons of that. So the next thing we need is 1/3 of a cup of some sort of milk alternative. Personally, I use the Natura unsweetened organic original blah blah blah. I always make sure to mark the date that I open it as well because they go bad pretty fast. So I don't want to pour spoiled soy milk into my banana bread. So we're going to measure out 1/3 of a cup. Now, this also calls for 1/3 of a cup of oil, coconut oil specifically. I do not use that. I use the President's Choice Organics original unsweetened applesauce, and I just use one of the things, which is wasteful, I'm aware. But I find if I get the jar, I do not use it up in time and it goes moldy, so we're going to be wasteful regardless. So I take the oil off of that, dump it in there. We're going to let that mix a little bit. There's no flour or anything in it yet, so it doesn't matter if there's no gluten to form, so you're not going to really overwork this, so let it mix a lot. Now that that's kind of mixed, we need to add in our maple syrup. Also, this is going to be kind of blurry when I show you guys stuff, just for the fact that my camera is old. It's a Canon T2i, and it does not have autofocus on video, so if I want to focus it, I gotta focus it myself. And my hands are kind of busy, so we're going to deal with it. So for the last of our wet ingredients, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I just use the no-name artificial vanilla because it's pretty cheap. So we need 2 teaspoons for that. And it will make your house smell lovely. Not that banana bread does not do that already anyways, but you know. Okay, one last mix of our wet ingredients. The first thing I'm going to start with is a teaspoon of baking soda, and then a half teaspoon of baking powder. I hope this is right. I hope I did not get this mixed up. Pretty sure it's right. If not, it's not that big of a deal. It'll be fine. There we go. I like adding these before the flour. I like adding everything before the flour just because I like to make sure it's well mixed. And like I said, if you are mixing with flour, you're going to be forming gluten, which is fine, but you don't want to like knead it. It doesn't need to be that well mixed. So I do the rest of the dry ingredients first. Alright, so the other powder we need to add is sea salt, and I just use Great Value because it's a great value, haha, and it's only a half teaspoon of that. And then we need some oats. So for the oats, you only need a half a cup. I'm actually going to bring you guys down to my level. Okay, so we need a half cup of oats, so at this line. These are just the Quaker large oats, large flake oats. I just put them in a container because I had an extra container and I didn't want the bag lying around. So we need a half cup of this. I'll put in a little bit. It's pretty much a half cup, so it's good enough. I'll bring you guys back up. Okay, so we're gonna put our oats in. Put them in on this side because that's easier. And then we also forgot sugar, but that is my fault. Now, unfortunately, it calls for coconut sugar. I regularly use white sugar, but as you can see, my white sugar is not at a point in life where it is able to be used, so we're gonna use brown sugar. We're gonna get some molassesy flavor up in there. It calls for 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons, so like almost 1/3 of a cup. So we're just gonna measure out something like that. So almost 1/3 of a cup. That might actually be too much. I don't really know. I didn't pack it down, so I think it'll be okay. If not, it might just be a little bit sweet, but I mean, it has very ripe bananas and maple syrup in it, so it's going to be sweet anyways, so we're just going to deal. Okay, and the last thing you need is flour. It calls for spelt and whole wheat because I'm pretty sure she's gluten-free. I use white because I do a lot of baking and I always have all-purpose white. I used to also keep whole wheat, but my boyfriend doesn't really like it. So we just use white now. So I'm going to measure out 1.5 cups of that. Do you guys really need to see this? No? Okay, cool. I'm going to shake this in. Bam. Look at that. We're going to add 1.5 cups. Can you guys see that? I hope you can see that. But also we need to mix everything else before the flour because we need to get all of the sugar and stuff incorporated, so I'm going to let that go. Lock it, turn it on. So I think that's good. I'm going to turn it off. And I'm going to lift the arm and we're going to pour in the flour. I'll let her go again. So while this is going, I am going to measure out some chocolate chips. This is the brand that I use, the Great Value Semi-Sweet, which in the event you guys did not know, they are actually vegan. There's no milk in them and they are the best. Also, I'm going to turn this off because it's probably very good to go. But I'm going to measure out like 1/3 of a cup. Okay, so 1/3 of a cup going right there. A little bit more, maybe a little bit less. We'll see what happens. That is significantly more, but you know what? We're gonna deal with it. Okay, so now that everything's all nice and mixed, we're gonna also add in our chocolate chips. And I'm gonna let this go not for very long because unfortunately, since the chocolate chips are chippy and chunky, it makes the head of the, or rather the arm of the stand mixer jump. So I don't want to, like, you know, ruin the stand mixer. So something like that is perfect. So this is a banana bread recipe, but I always do it in muffins because they are easier. So I'm going to use a silicone spatula to give this a mix, just because there's obviously parts where the stand mixer did not actually reach. And you want to make sure those chocolate chips are all nice and incorporated. So to get an appropriate amount into each, you know, muffin tin hole situation, I find using an ice cream scoop is actually the easiest, just because you get like the same amount each time. So I'm gonna figure out how to do this around the tripod. I just take a scoop, plop it in. I'm also not greasing the pan because this is a non-stick pan, and I literally never have had anything stick, ever. I also did just wash my hands, so you don't have to worry about that. Please wash your hands when you're touching food because hands are gross. Okay, try not to do it as messy as I am because you're wasting valuable banana bread batter. Oh my goodness. Wow, I am a failure and a half. Holy cow. I remember these are gonna dome a little bit, so you don't want to fill them like super high or anything. Okay, when it gets near the end, you're not gonna be able to scoop it out. So take your spatula again. Okay, so they're kind of all a similar sort of thing. Okay, I'm gonna take you guys off the tripod for this. I'm gonna take this. It should be preheated. Yep. Nice and hot. These in here. Close her up. Well, now we've got to clean up our mess. I'm gonna spray it down with some Lysol, but not actually Lysol because it's just filled with vinegar. Ta-da! Nice and clean. Now it's going to be, I think, 30 minutes, 40 minutes before. It's currently 2:42, so we'll check out like quarter after. Okay guys, it's 3:15. We're gonna check on our little muffins. They're looking pretty darn good in there. I'm gonna grab an oven mitt. Now that I have my oven mitt, I'm gonna pull these out. Close. Ooh, that was loud. Okay, but look at these. Aren't they beautiful? Okay, you need to do a toothpick test. I'm gonna set this down right here for a second. Toothpick test. See if this comes out clean. Oh yeah, that is a clean toothpick. Test another one just in case. It's clean. A little bit of chocolate, but still clean, so we are good. And that is our muffins done. So it's been about half an hour since the muffins have cooled. They look beautiful. I'm going to try it with some of the Great Value natural crunchy peanut butter with chia and coconut. This is so heckin' good. I would recommend it if you can find it. If you cannot, That's unfortunate for you, I guess. A little bit of that on top. Like, look at that. Look how good that looks. Holy cow. And yes, it is as good as it looks. It's not super sweet, so the amount of sugar I put in was fine, and the brown sugar didn't really change the taste. So, it's good. I do recommend making this. Like I said, I've made it many times, and it's delicious every time. Yeah, it's my favorite banana bread recipe even before going vegan. I've never had banana bread as good as this, so that's my review. I hope you enjoyed.